Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I am bringing you the top 10 worst threequels in movie franchises. That is, the worst third film. As with most threequels, these guys seem to always run into problems such as a significantly lower budget than its first two predecessors, actors, writers, and directors losing interest in the franchise, refusing to stick around for a third installment, and not to mention big shoes to fill to keep the same feel, same heart of the franchise and keep that ball running. Now I may personally agree and disagree with some of these on the list, but it's more of a general consensus. And at the end, I'm gonna get you to comment down below on what is the worst threequel you've ever seen. Here we go! Number 10, Jurassic Park 3. Notorious for being the worst film in the Jurassic Park trilogy, we find our beloved Dr. Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill on Isla Sorna, INNNN's failed Site B experiment.
I have a proposition I'd like to discuss with you.
Persuaded to guide an aerial sightseeing tour of the island, Dr. Grant soon realizes the true reason for his invitation. And no, it's not a picnic. With a poorly written script, a pair of irritating characters that are so hard to connect with you'd like to see them dead, an almost non-existent plot, and without Steven Spielberg directing at the helm, it seems the special effects in Spinosaurus were not enough to save this pointless threequel, leaving it to be a pile of dino dung. Not to mention the controversial scene that seemed to divide the Jurassic Park fanbase, with an unceremonious 25-second fight between the Spinosaurus and the monster the franchise was famous for. Number 9. Predators. Being the third standalone Predator film in the original Predator franchise, Predators takes us to a mysterious planet where a group of cold-blooded killers on Earth now become the prey in this 2010 action thriller.
This planet is a game preserve. We're the game.
With Adrian Brody leading the group through the dense jungles, they soon realize they need to set aside their differences and work together, or they may just become the latest trophy for the intergalactic predators. In this installment, we are also introduced to the super predator subspecies. Criticized for abandoning previous Predator storylines, a weak plot, all too predictable, and an all-around unambitious film considering the talent involved, audiences gave this film two choppers way down. Number 8. Alien 3. After 6 whole years following James Cameron's epic 1986 sequel Aliens, fans of the franchise had high hopes for Alien 3, but the criticism was mostly harsh. Mostly. We find Ellen Ripley, played by the one and only Sigourney Weaver, who is the only survivor as the Seleuco escape pod crash lands on Fiorina, Fury 161, a planet whose maximum security prison houses violent male inmates.
Was there an alien on board?
Yes.
A conveniently placed alien egg on the escape pod eventually hatches and attaches itself to a dog, then bursts out of an ox, resulting in a quadrupedal xenomorph with no dorsal tubes. It's then up to Ripley to lead the men to victory against this diabolical terror. Fans dubbed the movie to be too depressing, with no emotional investment to root for a single character, not even for Weaver, who eventually falls for a murderous doctor. After battling what seems like hundreds of bloodthirsty monsters in the Alien sequel, it's a little hard to be scared of just one alien dog peeking around the corner, even though you don't have any weapons. James Cameron even went on record saying the decision in Alien 3 to kill off Newt, Hicks, and Bishop was dumb and a slap in the face to fans. It seems killing off the remaining cast from the prior sequel, throwing one random alien dog into the mix, a depressing tone, the impossible task of telling characters apart who all have shaved heads, who seem to be a mess of characters without purpose. It was game over for this threequel, man. It's game over.
Amen.
Number 7. The Terminator 3. A now 25-year-old John Connor lives without the ability to be traced by Skynet when out jumps TX, Skynet's most state-of-the-art cyborg killing machine from the future.
John Connor was here. Where is he?
Connor's only hope of survival is the Terminator, his former assassin, who must work together and forestall the looming threat of Judgment Day. Critics claim the film was one long chase and fight, punctuated by comic, campy, or simplistic dialogue. The effects, story, and action were not enough to overshadow the female demon mannequin that kept on coming, or the confusing use of time-based paradoxes. Many fans claimed that this third installment was the film that broke the camel's back, and the Terminator franchise went downhill from there, hoping each time the Arnold would not be back for another movie. With numerous plot holes, inconsistencies, and essentially a rehashed plot of Terminator 2, and not to mention John Connor with the personality of a potato, some have even gone as far to say it was worse than Terminator Genesis.
I am a machine.
Number 6. The Matrix 3. In a future overrun by robots, mankind's only hope, Neo, played by Keanu Reeves, is trapped in a limbo world. It's up to the few remaining humans aware of the grim state of the world to hold off their mechanical enemies until Neo can escape.
We missed you.
It ends tonight.
With a Rotten Tomatoes score of 36 and an audience score of 60%, moviegoers were frustrated at the convoluted conclusion to the final film in the Matrix franchise, dubbing it the worst in the trilogy. With a weak narrative revolving around more of the same slow-motion fight scenes, pointless character deaths, and mindless action, the third installment was a disappointing letdown to fans of the iconic franchise and felt as though the writing and production were rushed without thought, while brilliant choreography was replaced with the overusage of special effects. Number 5. Batman Forever.
Batman Forever.
In this third installment of the Batman franchise, we see Batman, played by Val Kilmer, face off between Two-Face, Tommy Lee Jones, and the Riddler, played by Jim Carrey, a disgruntled ex-Wayne Enterprises inventor seeking revenge by unleashing his brain-sucking weapon on Gotham City. With an all-star cast including Nicole Kidman, what went wrong?
Riddle me this, riddle me that.
With big shoes to fill, Kilmer pleased most moviegoers with his performance, while Jim Carrey was truly the breadwinner of this film, taking his character to a whole new level. However, some would agree the script called for too much humor. On the other end of performances, most would agree that both Tommy Lee's portrayal as Two-Face and Chris O'Donnell as Robin was truly awful. Robin ruined the franchise.
Train me, let me be your partner.
But famous names alone weren't enough to save this film from the Batcave, as the overly campy film stripped away all believability and downplayed aspects to appeal to children, rendering it cheap and flashy. But is it possible that this first wobble in the franchise was only a warning of what was to come? Number 4. ROBOCOP 3.
ROBOCOP 3.
With a Rotten Tomatoes score of just 3%, let's dive right into this pile of scrap metal.
You called for backup?
The greedy OCP, or Omni Consumer Products Corporation, is determined to begin development of their dream project Delta City, which would serve as a replacement for derelict Detroit. As a result, OCP has employed armed forces under the guise of urban rehabilitators to bully residents out of their own city. After RoboCop joins the civilian resistance, he sustains severe injuries and recovers to battle advanced ninja robots developed by OCP. Sounds pretty interesting, right? But audiences couldn't say enough bad things about this film.
Your damn ninja was supposed to take care of RoboCop for me.
You are under arrest for assaulting an officer.
Fans of the satirical and at times gory franchise could not get past the laughable script, silly and at times illogical material, and lack of Peter Weller's talents, rendering the iconic cop devoid of any remaining emotion, humanity, or frankly, anything interesting whatsoever. In order to market the movie as PG-13, catering to a younger crowd, the violence was toned down drastically when compared to its predecessors.
How may I help you, officer?
By resisting arrest.
Number 3. Jaws 3D.
Jaws 3D.
With a Rotten Tomatoes score of 11% and a Metacritic review of 27%, the critics don't always get it right, but they did on this pile of fish guts. This installment brings us to SeaWorld in Orlando, where the Jaws boys, Sean and Michael, find themselves face to face once again with their family's old adversary, big sharks. After a young great white shark finds its way into the park, the crew attempt to keep the shark in captivity. But Mama don't like this idea. With too much time spent on underwhelming human relationships, no palpable tension, poor 3D graphics, cheesy dialogue, and a film that leaves you cringing rather than frightened, it's no wonder audiences wanted to see this shark finally get his revenge on these bland characters. The 3D effects unfortunately slow down the pace of the movie to allot for audience reaction time, and in the case of Jaws films, less is certainly more in regards to Shark's screen time. Seeing him so often takes away tension, mystery, and it's like, oh, hi again, friends! It's also kind of hard to be frightened of a shark trapped in SeaWorld. Just leave and you'll be fine. If there's people trapped in a tunnel underwater, wait a second, plan it out, wait for more help, instead of going in there with a little bit of scuba gear with a shark that has clearly killed lots of people. Number 2, The Never-Ending Story 3.
The Never-Ending Story 3. Escape from Fantasia.
After his father remarries, Bastian, that kid from Free Willy, now faces trouble dealing with his hostile stepsister and a gang of bullies led by Skip, or Jack Black with a unibrow.
Maybe we could make a few things happen to him.
But after escaping once again into the realm of Fantasia, trouble ensues when Skip finds the magical book and begins destroying the fantasy kingdom. This unimaginative story takes place in the real world, not the magical realm of Fantasia, which swept kids off their feet. Instead, we get to see things like Mount Rushmore, deforestation fun, and seeing your favorite characters in real-world situations.
Kissy kiss!
It could have been the same issue Masters of the Universe ran into in 1987, unable to create the fantasy world of Eternia on their budget and forced to have it take place on Earth. Yeah, Free Willy guy knows what I'm talking about. I mean, come on, with some of that money you saved on set design, you could have at least made a half-decent Falcor. There's just no comparison.
Sneak away.
No.
I'll save you!
This movie was highly dumbed down and lost any sense of whimsy in this real-world setting with horrible character dialogue and horrid characters in general, and truly felt like a school project written on Sunday night, due Monday morning.
This is my story, and I'm not gonna let it happen.
Oh, but you did! Fortunately, this movie is so forgettable, it's easy to forget. And number 1, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Help, I'm a turtle and I can't get up.
Ninja Turtles 3. After having a conversation with a turtle fan, I kept wondering why the third installment had such a bad rep amongst fans. So I decided to revisit the film myself, having remembered vaguely Raph flying a kite with Yoshi, some nice Japanese people, and no vanilla ice.
It's ninja, rap, ninja, rap, go ninja, go.
After watching for about 30 minutes or so, I fell to my knees looking up to the heavens. In this third installment, we find our half-shelled ninjas traveling back in time to 16th century feudal Japan in order to save April O'Neil, who bought a time-traveling relic at a flea market by accident. Full of half-hearted cartoon action and too much childish goofiness and sound effects, it's enough to make fans retreat into their own shells than watch this unnecessary time-traveling third installment. At times, it felt like the characters relied on their own improv skills rather than stick to a concrete script, and while sorely lacking any awesome choreographed ninja fights, it felt like the director said, here's a stick. Do something. And with a budget of $21 million, it's a shame that animatronics and sloppy mouth movements while mouthing words were a disappointing step backwards. Too bad Jim Henson and the Creature Shop weren't able to help out like they did the first two.
Yeah, I just hope these village people won't be afraid of this anymore.
While most fans were bored out of their minds watching their childhood heroes gaggle through a muddled, time-traveling gimmick plot like fools, it's easy to see why fans miss their badass, pizza-loving, dude-speaking— wait, let me guess, you didn't finish Splinter's other half— wisecracking ninjas they knew and loved, leaving this movie an empty shell. See what I did there? So there you have it, guys, the top 10 worst movie threequels. In the comments down below, let me know what the worst threequel you ever saw was, and if it's not on the list, it may be in the honorable mentions in the description box below. So please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I come with new videos every week. Come check me out on social media and help support the channel on Patreon. So thank you guys so much for watching, and stay legendary.